This is Leadership Beyond, your community of conversation.
Diane Kubal is not your ordinary entrepreneur and learning development specialist. With a rich background in corporate leadership and training, she has consistently reinvented herself to stay at the forefront of the human development industry. Diane's journey is marked by her unwavering commitment to learning and development, entrepreneurship, and the power of networking to connect individuals to solve problems collaboratively. Before establishing Fulcrum Network, Diane honed her skills as a corporate training specialist, specializing in customer service, experiential learning, career, and leadership development. Her deep expertise in these areas laid the foundation for her remarkable career. As a seasoned entrepreneur and learning development professional, Diane Kubal has crafted numerous cutting-edge blended learning programs. At Fulcrum Network, she has been the driving force behind the successful promotion of products and services offered by a diverse array of organization development consultants, trainers, and coaches. In recent years, Diane has taken her expertise to the next level, creating an innovative, experience-based online learning methodology featured in Fulcrum Network's learning experience platform. Her program portfolio includes standout offerings such as Career Essentials, Essential Circles, Transformed Learning, and the Modern Manager Leadership Series. Beyond her own creations, Diane collaborates with consultants to amplify their impact by crafting compelling blended online learning programs. Diane's influence extends far and wide, as evidenced by Fulcrum's consultants being sought after by Fortune 1000 companies, including household names such as SC Johnson, Miller Coors, United Airlines, and Wrigley. Her ability to bring people together to solve complex challenges, combined with her unwavering commitment to lifelong learning, make her a standout figure in the world of entrepreneurship and learning and development. If you're looking to go beyond just bringing information to people, but creating engaged learning experience that are sustainable, you'll want to go to fulcrumnetwork.com.
Three things stand out to me about Diane as we talk to her today. The first is that she genuinely leads with curiosity, and she's captured this strength she has to connect strengths of individuals with the needs of other individuals. And she's made a successful business out of those two things. And the third point is that she has such an openness to pivot when she sees opportunity based on the changing needs of those that she serves. So she's able to do all of these still by being true to herself, by leading with curiosity and a strength to connect.
And as I listened to you go through all of those, I observed the same things, but what really jumps out as I look at her history, and I've had the good fortune of knowing her for years, is that really her why has stayed the same. Her strengths, as you mentioned, connecting people to needs, caring about the needs, and then helping to solve it, not on her own, but with and through other people. But she entered her career as a training specialist. So we have the same components, learning, development, connecting, but the world has changed. And so she's expanded and grown in the way she does it is radically different than the way she did it as a training specialist in the corporate world. But the why and the what matters stay the same. And it's really for any of us trying to reinvent ourselves in this crazy world. Let's start with what we do well, strengths, and find new ways to apply it. You're going to love this conversation. Welcome, Diane. Good morning, Diane. Thanks for joining us.
Oh, thanks for inviting me. This is exciting.
Yeah. Hi, Diane. It's so great to see you again. So I know you and Tom have been connected colleagues, friends for a long time. I met you years ago through Tom because I think there was an engagement that you had that I might have been a a candidate consultant for, right? And that's how we met. And then we kind of lost touch for a little while, and we recently have reconnected because I'm thinking about shifting up my business model, and you are helping people to do that very thing. So that's what, we'd like to kind of dig into today with you, but let's open up and just start at the beginning of your journey, how you came to build your Fulcrum network.
Sure. Well, yeah, that's a long answer to that question, but I'll try to make it more succinct. So back 1994, I was graduating from the court program at Loyola, the Center for Organization Development. And one of the consultants that I was a student with, a colleague, said that she was coaching people on sales. And I was just starting my own business as an independent consultant and thought, I have this mental block about sales and I just hate it. And what she helped me recognize is that I have this natural talent for networking and this curiosity about what people are doing, and that is such an important aspect of sales. And I think the thing is that I was just really interested in what everybody else was doing, so I could try to figure out what I should do. And she helped me to recognize that this is a unique talent and that I could use it as a business. Because actually, to try to find my first job in learning and development, I networked with 75 people. And I didn't realize that was an incredible thing. That's just what I did. And of course, I tapped the hidden job market and found a role that wasn't even advertised, and got it at Budget Rent a Car, and happened to be the director of that function was a student or a graduate of the Loyola Ford program. So that is really how Fulcrum Network was born. Is she helped me, this consultant, recognize this networking talent. And it was before, guru.com or Monster. Back in 94, there weren't all of these online programs. So I was connecting client needs with independent consultants or people looking for jobs. I was even the director of the job bank when they would send in self-addressed stamped envelopes for people who were looking for a job. And I would copy the job lead and then send it out in the mail to everybody because there was no electronic way to do it. So I've been doing this networking thing for many years before everything was social media.
Yeah. So as I listen to that, several leadership lessons come to mind. One is identify your strength and do that as a pathway to do this thing you're not sure if you know how to do. And the other thing that comes to mind is just, I had never experienced anything like it when I first came across it. This idea that we discover what the client needs, and then we help to be a conduit to find the solution. And that's the kind of salespeople like. It's service. What they don't like is when you try to convince them that you're the person that can solve all their problems, and then they turn off. But what you just do, and I love that you use the word curiosity that comes up with our guests. Curious, wonder how I can help them. Wonder who can help them. Wonder how, without having to know in the front end. So there's a lot packed into that introduction, but I just, as we get on with this conversation, want to say thank you for opening my eyes years ago to some possibilities I never knew. I thought everybody had their own little business card and did their own thing. And sometimes you shuffled and passed business cards along because I'd done referring before. But just this idea of pulling human strengths together to solve clients' problems. Boy, the world needs more of that kind of selling.
Yeah, well, that whole mindset shift for me was huge because I wasn't really trying to sell anything in particular. I was really trying to understand, what did the client need and who do I know that could help solve that problem?
Yes.
So I was not invested in who they chose or what particular, type of consultant they needed. I just wanted to help them. And so that's just such a more natural way of selling. However, most of the time, we have on these glasses and we kind of see what we want to see or what we do and how we can solve the problem the way we solve it, right? But that isn't always the answer.
Yeah. And so Fulcrum Network really came out of this, your your natural ability to curate a talent pool, right? And it's a quality talent pool. So people know when they come to Diane, they're going to first be connected with high quality consultants or facilitators, trainers, whatever that need is, and that you're going to first listen and be curious as to what is the business problem that you're facing, and who within my network, my partners, can I bring forward for you to help to meet that need. I mean, that's an incredible business model.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, now there's more access to independents and people who maybe don't have a well-known brand, and lots of social media and things like that. So it seems that there is maybe a quicker and easier way now for clients to find people, although they're not necessarily vetted. The people that we work with, of course, have been on a number of projects, so we can share with the client our experiences with them in the past.
Mhm. How do you make sure that that connection is, it's this sort of power of networking, and I imagine, at least early days, there was a lot of networking for you to curate and then continuously add to and enhance and plus size, your pool. How do you discern between the places you should be to connect with the right people and places that maybe wouldn't bring the value that you're looking for? And let me tell you why I'm asking, because when I think about business leaders, consultants, really any of us kind of in this professional world, and we have so many networking opportunities available to us, how do you figure out where's the right place to be? Where are you going to connect with, quote, your people, right? The people that can help you. How you would probably do this naturally, but if you can think about, what kind of are those things that help you to discern that?
Yeah, so interesting. I was just going through this thought process in my mind because I wanted to join a local group that I think would, benefit my business. And I was looking at different organizations, and I don't want to necessarily name the ones that I decided not to join, but the one that I decided to join is the National Speakers Association. And I years ago was a member and attended their speaker academy, although wasn't interested in doing that. But the people there are quality. And I certainly have experience of that. And I think that they are very open and willing to refer and are looking for new ways of doing things. And I just felt like it was the right energy. A lot of those people are authors and experts. And so with what I'm doing in my business now is helping those consultants take their content and expertise and convert it into blended programs. And most of them don't necessarily have that skill. They don't have the interest in buying a learning platform or building it on their own. And so I felt like there could be a lot of people who could benefit from my services, even though, I don't want to be a speaker. That's not my goal for joining there. It's really, how can I support those people? So that was a recent thought process that I've gone through.
Well, and so we want to dive deeper into what you're currently doing. And as a transition, what I heard that is really powerful, and we allude to it in our networking strategy guide, is really ask for what value you bring and what people need, and find new ways to bridge it. Instead of just assuming, okay, this is about speaking, I don't really want to do that now, so I don't belong. It's like you have something to bring them, so they value you being there, and they have something to bring you. mutual value in finding those bridges, which, as Adrienne just alluded to, at this point, you do rather intuitively. But for people that don't do it as intuitively, ask the right questions, then you know why you showed up to that meeting, and you're likely to find what it is you're looking for, instead of just thinking it's a cookie cutter thing. So thank you.
Yeah, and just to answer the last question about, how do I know who to network with and if there's value? I think of this thing, I call it reverse networking because I don't know what else to call it. Is a lot of people want to network with me because they know that I'm someone who connects them to potential business. And so I meet with everybody because you never know who could be a connection to someone else. So it's an opportunity to share what I do, to learn about what they do. And there may not necessarily be something that connects for us, but they could connect me to someone else. So I am pretty open and interested in meeting with most people. And if I think it's somebody that I'm not really going to necessarily benefit from, I'll make sure that it's a Zoom, or if we're going to meet in person, I make it convenient for me so that it's 5 minutes from my house or something like that, so that there's a way that, it's worth it for me.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And that's a great way to not be salesy. Like I don't think any of us get into the businesses we're in or as business leaders unless your job is to sell, right? But even salespeople don't necessarily want to feel salesy, right? They're still there to serve a need. And when you're genuinely looking for shared value between you, either what can I offer to you, and perhaps what can you offer to me, which in turn benefits that person, right? There's a shared value, so it doesn't feel salesy because you're truly going in there with a curiosity of, let's just get to know each other. And maybe it is 20 minutes. I know, Tom, you do this a lot as well, where it's just, yeah, let's have a get to know you conversation and see where it goes. And what do we lose? 15, 20 minutes, right? And sometimes it's really, really valuable. And other times it's connecting to someone else, and then they find the value. And then we feel good about that because we've made a strong connection for someone else. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
So let's take a look at more deeply. You saw a need, which is, and I'll use my world, I don't ever want to be in the classroom 100 days a year again. And I love the classroom. I'm missing it after COVID. I want to get in the classroom, but I don't want to be in the classroom 100 days a year. So we can use a speaker, trainer, consultant, or coach. And we have this new connection called the internet, and it's still relatively new. We forget that now. My kids can't believe it's new, but they say, you had this long cord on the phone and the overhead place and made your call.
What's
Yeah.
a landline?
What is that? What was the cord about? Anyway, back to the question. The question is very simple. So this must have bubbled up, that you saw this need, recognized it as an opportunity for you to add value. Tell us a little bit about the journey toward becoming committed to helping consultants get their value out online.
Yeah, so I had been a talent broker for many years, maybe 20 or something like that. And I started to recognize that I had some of my own content and expertise. And one of the things is really around identifying a person's strengths and natural gifts and talents. I see people's talent and I love to name it and label it and get it used. In the Strength Finder, one of my talents is the maximizer. And so I wanted to create a course around helping consultants or job seekers do this. How do I really present myself in a way that positions my strengths and connects with people? And it really is about that connection. It's about making it natural. And so I created this course called Career Essentials, and it's about identifying your natural gifts and talents using some assessments, a conversational assessment, and it's for early career top talent to look at what am I interested in doing, and what does the company need, and how do we blend those? And they come up with what I call a talent alignment plan. It's aligning the talent of the individual with the needs of the organization so that they stay. It's about this retention. And so I found this course called the Experience Product Masterclass, and it was about creating an experience online. And I took this course and I created Career Essentials as my product or outcome of that. And I was on fire with it. I just loved it. I was like one of the star students. I sold my pilot to Schneider Electric and to 25 of their early career top talent. And I told everybody in my network, I actually created a webinar and said, everybody in my network, this is what corporate America needs. Back in 2018, I took the course in 2017. And you guys need to take the course that I took. And then I'm going to sell your programs because this is where it's at. This is where things are going. So I had no idea COVID was going to happen. And so I created my course, and then people were not able to create anything from that course. 8 people signed up for the course that I took. And it was more business to consumer than business to business. So there was some translation and there was a lot of paradigm shift, which I did sort of naturally. And so they were asking me for help and, coaching. And so I thought, you know what, I need to do this. So I created a course called Transformed Learning. And it's taking whatever you do, whether that was in the classroom or your expertise, and converting it into this blended approach where you have one-on-one written coaching between you and the participants. There are live sessions. There's online content with videos and exercises, worksheets, articles. There's social community where everyone in the class can be interacting. And so you can see like all of these kinds of things make the content a lot stickier, makes the learning more effective because the participants are touching this content several times over a period of time. So sorry, I'm talking so long here. Let me just stop and let you ask me questions if you have some.
No, this is incredible. So you, rather than you created something that did not require you to be there and to deliver over and over and over again. So people could get the idea, get the concept on their own in their own time, and then come in to you for that additional coaching and help and eventually the support in building their programs, right? Versus live
not
events.
exactly. Yeah, so I created different versions of it. There was a version, or there is a version that's kind of a self-study that just has one live session with it. And then there are other versions because this program, Career Essentials, goes over 3 months, and there could be 3 one-on-one sessions and 3 live virtual sessions. Now you imagine this is for 25 people. So you could do a one-on-one coaching with each of them. That would be really expensive and time consuming. And so the way to make this work for a large group is you have them learn from each other. There's accountability partners. So in between the live group sessions or individual sessions, they're meeting with each other and giving each other feedback. So I really do feel like there needs to be some kind of access to the expert, whether that's in writing or in a live session, but none of my sessions require the expert or the facilitator to physically be in a room with the 25 people. We do it always on, Zoom or Teams or whatever.
And then can that all be consumed asynchronously as well? So if you can't be at a live webinar or event, it's recorded, I assume, and you can take it in your own time. And obviously there's the benefit in doing it live, so you can ask questions live and have that true interaction. It reminds me, I teach college courses and online, and it's completely asynchronous. So we don't have any live events, unlike your program, which blows my mind. But anyway, I don't just necessarily agree with that component, but it reminds me more of a college course or a cohort kind of scenario where, unlike a LinkedIn learning kind of thing, that it's just on-demand learning, you go take it and then you're kind of left with, well, I have ideas, but nobody to bounce them off of, right?
Yeah, well, I would say that we like to have some kind of live interaction. Ideally,
Yes.
that's how it works. And the live interaction can be learning from peers as well as learning from the expert. And today, with the modern learner, if you will, how many people just listen to their boss? Like they value the opinion and input from their peers. The younger generation is used to that with social media. So there's a lot of learning that happens between the participants, even if they're not live in the room, but in the social community. But we definitely recommend that there are some live components to every program. That's why we call it blended. We
Mhm.
certainly can do like the e-learning in a cohort without any live interaction, but even just the facilitator writing comments back to the participants can be helpful. And there's long dialogues in the social community, like on DEI topics. People have a lot of emotion and energy that they want to express and share with people, and that actually helps before a live session. If people can read about someone's experience, they can have a little time for that to soak in. And then when they come to the live session, they're much more open to hearing what other people say. Their biases begin to sort of either surface up or dissolve a little bit because they've had this exposure to other people's experiences even before a live session.
I just love hearing the process that you go through, going back to the example of you had a great experience and you wanted to share it. So with enthusiasm, you went out and shared it, and it turned out it just wasn't quite ready to translate to the people you wanted to serve. And there's that quality of curiosity again. Rather than pitch the idea and move on to the next thing, you start asking questions. How can we make it more? And it's an ongoing process rather than an event. And I know you're continuing to do that, to improve it as you go in ways to adapt to the needs of both those experts and the participants, to maximize, you're a maximizer, to maximize the learning experience for all parties. So that's really powerful.
Yeah, what I've recognized over the past few years in helping consultants is that there really is a much longer and bigger process than just converting your content. There needs to be some kind of strategy and looking at, what are all of your skills and expertise and content that you have, and where do you want the customer to begin in the customer journey with you? And maybe that's your signature program. It's something short, it's something introductory, and it leads the client naturally to the next step, whatever that is. It could be custom services, it could be a larger program. And because the client has some sort of experience of you live, they will want more. And when you have just an e-learning program that's just video after video and there's no interaction with you as the expert, it doesn't leave the client wanting more. So that is a very important piece, is
Mhm.
identifying where to begin, what is the next step, how do you sell them the next, higher ticket item. And that strategy then is sort of your plan for what are all the courses or things that you're going to have in your offers, if you will, with your
You help the
business.
consultant to develop that strategy.
Yes, so I have some partners, Lynn Miller, who has this program called 10X Your Expertise. And so she works on the strategy and then hands that over to me with developing that signature course with that consultant, either converting or creating it. And then together, she and I can help launch a consultants program like we would do it via a webinar. So Adrienne, the webinar that you attended for our program is a very similar model of what we would do for the consultant to introduce and launch their new program. And then Fulcrum has a platform and a delivery team so that consultants don't have to buy a technology. They don't have to learn it. They don't have to have an admin team. They can use our team for the delivery and execution. So we've created this end-to-end from strategy to delivery, this process that really is what's needed for these types of blended programs to be successful.
And that's what's often missing, and that's probably why you created it, because many of the people that are selling online learning platforms, they are very technical and tactical, and they will succeed in getting your stuff online. It just might not connect you to the people who would be able to benefit. And,
Yeah.
and it's because we're not asking the right questions on the front end. And
That's right.
they
Yeah,
do
the
what you pay
strategy
them to
really
do.
creates.
And
Yeah,
that's why I've resisted it much of the time, because I don't want to just stick a bunch of stuff online. I did, my first website was that way. It was a business card in the sky, and it was well done. They did everything I paid them to do. It's just the only visitors had my same last name. but yeah, that's really powerful.
yeah. Well, the strategy really helps to create a lot of the messaging for your marketing. And that's where most consultants really struggle, is that whole launch and then the ongoing marketing around their course. But when it's part of your customer journey and it is your, business process with your client, it becomes the way you do business. And so that's really what we're trying to help people do, is create a system, not just a course out there.
And so some of your success stories with consultants or trainers, facilitators who've gone through this journey with you, and now they have their online programs. Tell us a little bit about how businesses are receiving that. How is that meeting their need within an organization?
Yeah, I think a lot of businesses now are recognizing that they cannot have people out of the job or out of the office to physically be together. Maybe if they have some sort of meetings, they'll tag on things, but there's just much less willingness to sit in a room for hours, 3 hours, 8 hours, whatever it is. And because of during COVID, everyone knows it's possible to do training in different ways. At the start of COVID, we just sort of took what we did in the classroom for 8 hours and we put it 8 hours on Zoom. We know that doesn't work.
That's not a good idea.
Bad.
No, businesses are really looking for the next step beyond e-learning. A lot of them have already embraced e-learning, but the usage of those types of learning programs are pretty low because it's
Yes.
boring and it's not engaging. So they do want another more interactive way for people to learn. So I think that is where things are heading. And so when consultants have this type of learning, it's sort of like a refreshing surprise. When someone goes through, like, for example, this Awaken Unconscious Bias program, one of our consultants sold over a dozen of these programs to her, past clients, new clients, and they just loved it. I mean, it's very natural for them to use the social community feature, and with a DEI program, that's such an important aspect. So I think that they actually got a lot more out of it than they had expected with a so-called virtual program.
One thing that I've been thinking about, that I've been pondering how to shift up my own business model, and I've been thinking about how do I foster a creation of longevity with clients. So having not necessarily the quantity of portfolio, but the quality of relationship with a smaller number of clients. But to do that, I need the longevity, not the come in and help execute a change initiative and then go away till you have the next big change initiative where you need to bring in somebody from the outside to help drive that. Creating something that is more of this ongoing partnership where there's just continuous learning and continuous value that I'm able to bring for those clients. Can you talk a little bit about, so if somebody were to come in and consume the program, if it's a 12-week program or what have you, is there an element of that where there's just an ongoing relationship where maybe it's continuous live events that get, we're talking about themes or trends or something that kind of keeps the employees of that organization or the leaders of that organization who you've sold this program to engaged for the longer term beyond that program. Any thoughts on something like that?
So most of the programs that we create are all what we call learning journeys. So they are over time, and it could be anywhere from a week, it could be a year. For instance, we have the Modern Managers Leadership Series, and there are 7 different topics, and we spread those out over, a period of time. It could be 3, 6, 9, even 12 months. So in that way, you are building relationship with whoever those participants are.
Mhm.
And we use a group coaching format. And when you have a smaller group of people, it becomes more intimate. You can go deeper, and you don't let anybody into that group, and nobody leaves that group. And it's the same facilitator. So there's some bonding that's going on.
Mhm.
So for instance, that's a type of program that you could create
Live
that
on.
naturally is over time. It doesn't necessarily go beyond that, but you could create something that goes beyond that. For instance, if you wanted to have, like a manager's refresher program that you're going to offer, I don't know, every quarter or something, and there's some discussion about the specific skills that they learned and how they're using them. Like, for instance, we have a capstone program, and each person creates their own individual development plan. And these are just managers that are creating it. So you could have some sort of let's check in on your IDP and how you're doing, and you create some breakout rooms with people where they're giving feedback to each other, and the client would pay for this quarterly ongoing meeting to keep this alive, in addition to maybe working with their manager or with their accountability partner. So that's just one example. But also with your customer journey, this is something that you could identify, because I know that you can easily do those change management projects, and there's a start and there's an end to it. But if the client was aware of some of the things that you are offering to expand their learning around change, whatever that might be, and you're able to integrate that into your services that you're providing, now there's a little next thing that they've been exposed to, that you can talk about, that you can begin to engage them in. And so I think you would want to have sort of those offerings planned out and have some sort of structure around them, but they are over time. Each of them is over a period of time. So you can see how you might be able to have this ongoing courses or interactions with
Some kind of
you that
engagement.
isn't necessarily a subscription, because I know you were also talking about, offering a subscription, which is a totally, different kind of model where you would be, creating content all the time.
Mm-hmm.
That's a little harder to do, I think.
Well,
Yes.
thank you so much for joining us today. And just listening, I think the listeners can see how you help to tailor whatever it is they bring, the strengths they bring, to the needs of the people they serve in moving ways. So please tell our audience, and we'll publish it in the show notes, how they connect with you.
Oh, absolutely. Well, thank you again for inviting me for this very stimulating conversation. And they can connect with me either at my website, fulcrumnetwork.com, or email me, dk@fulcrumnetwork.com.
And we'll be sure to put that in the show notes. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
This is
Wonderful. You've got a little bit for everybody. You've got the business leaders. You've got programs for the business leaders. You've got programs for the consultants. You're hitting all of our audience and our community. So thank you so much, Diane. What value?
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the Leadership Beyond podcast. We hope you benefited from this conversation as much as we have. We invite you to join our community of conversation. Subscribe to our podcast on iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts. Don't forget to sign up at aleadershipbeyond.com for free materials and updates. That's aleadershipbeyond.com. Join us in 2 weeks for our next episode.